Bush School. Mother Nature welcomes you. Join us in a world that's new. Open up your eyes. Bush School. Animals in camouflage. How they breed and feed and thrive. Learn how they survive. Discover the secrets of wildlife. Discover the way to be bush-wise. Bush School.
Most people that go to a game reserve have to be back at camp when the sun goes down. So they only get to see the animals that are active in the daylight. Now we are really fortunate. We are able to go game viewing at night, which means we will get to see all the nocturnal animals, those that wake up when the sun goes down. Put on your torches and let's go out and have a look. Right, let's go. Come on.
Lions spend the whole day sleeping. When the sun goes down, they wake up, groom themselves, have a drink of water, and then begin to hunt. They hunt right through the night. When the sun rises next morning, they find a shady spot and go back to sleep. Look closely at this lion. Below his eyes you can see pale marks. They help sharpen the lion's night vision by reflecting extra light into his eyes.
Shine over there, Abbott. See, not too high, Bonnie. Sit down, but that's nice.
Leopards are also mostly night animals, although they do occasionally hunt by day. You need to have eyes like hawks to be able to run an impala down in the bush the way this leopard can. Porcupines are related to rats and mice and are in fact the largest rodent in Africa. They're only active at night. This one has been cornered by a leopard, but its sharp defensive quills protect it, and it'll live to see another night. The spotted hyena is also most active at night. These hyenas are caring for their cubs at their den. Once the cubs have been fed and groomed, the adults leave them to hunt through the night.
He's coming out of the holes. Those holes there. No, just look and see. It's nice, Cece.
They're quite capable of killing their own prey, but using their sensitive ears and superb sense of smell, they usually seek out the carcasses of animals killed by other predators. One animal we all know is active at night is the owl. Its large eyes give it excellent night vision. It does nearly all its hunting between sunset and dawn. The nightjar, also a night bird, gets its name from the strange jarring sounds it makes. It catches insects on the wing. If you switch a light on in the bush, especially in summer, hundreds of insects will fly towards it. These insects are all nocturnal. The praying mantis feeds on other insects. Here's an adult ant lion with its large eyes. This is one of the many species of moth active at night. The giant land snail comes out at night, only after heavy rains. Unlike most other nocturnal animals, bats, surprisingly, are almost blind. But they've developed a kind of radar system that allows them to navigate accurately through even the blackest night. Genets are small spotted animals that look like cats, but are not in fact related to cats at all. They're members of the mongoose family. They hunt mice, insects, and small birds by using their keen sense of hearing and night vision. Like lions, they have white spots beneath their eyes that reflect additional light into their eyes. The civet is another cat-like animal related to the mongoose. It feeds mainly on fruit and insects, although it will sometimes eat meat. It is very territorial. If you shine a spotlight into the bush at night, you'll see what looks like bright red lights glowing in the trees. They're not lights at all, of course, but the eyes of the lesser bush baby reflecting the spotlight. It's a cute creature, a member of the monkey family, and it hops enormous distances through the trees. By day, it sleeps in hollow trees. It's getting so late that even the bush babies look as though they can't keep their eyes open for much longer. And so the children return from their nocturnal adventure to the boma at Londolozi.
What's the hyena personality? I like the porcupine. Lions were the best.
It was really very interesting. Oh, everybody's really tired now. What you must remember, though, is when you go to bed tonight, just as you're about to close your eyes, numerous small animals are just waking up. Okay, then. Good night, everybody. Good night.
Will you leave us a world where no rhinos run? Will you leave us a world where no whales swim? Will you leave us a world that is scorched by the sun? Will you leave us a world? What kind of world? Will you leave us a world where the forests are gone? Will you leave us a world where no rivers run? Will you leave us a world with 10 billion strong? Will you leave us a world? What kind of world? You can make it a world where the rivers flow clean and wildlife runs free on an earth that is green. Let them know that you care. Be alive, be aware, in a world that together we share. This kind of world, what kind of world? Your kind of world, our kind of world. Bush School, Mother Nature welcomes you. Join us in a world that's new. Open up your eyes. Bush School, animals and camouflage, how they breed and feed and thrive. Learn how they survive. Discover the secrets of wildlife. Discover the way to be bush-wise. Bush School.
Birds of prey, like the falcons, the hawks and the eagles, hunt by day. Now there is a predatory bird that hunts at night.
It's an owl.
That's right, the owl. And now we are very fortunate today to have Karen Trendler here, who's come to tell us a little bit more about owls. Now Karen works for ARC. Karen, can you tell us a little bit about ARC and what it stands for?
ARC is the Animal Rehabilitation Centre, and we're a centre that look after sick and injured wildlife. This is a Cape Eagle owl. I'm going to tell you a bit about him, explaining why he's different to day birds and what makes him special as an owl. He's got these little tufts. They're not really ears, they're false ears, and he uses those for camouflage during the day. He's got a very rounded head, and he's got very big eyes for hunting.
How come those feathers sticking out aren't his ears where eyes is?
His ears are over here, just behind his eye on the side of his head, and they're placed asymmetrically, which means the one is placed slightly higher than the other one, and that allows him to cross-reference the sound that's coming from both directions into the ears, and he's able to pinpoint exactly where that mouse is.
In addition, there's a flap of skin in front of the ear that does what a cupped hand in front of your ear would do. It focuses the sound from behind. This is very useful to the owl because it enables it to listen for potential prey or danger that might be approaching from behind. The curious disc shapes around the eyes also help the owl's sense of hearing. They act like parabolic reflectors, gathering sound waves and reflecting them towards the ears.
Is it true that the owl can swing his head right around?
Yes, he's very fortunate. He can turn his head right the way around, and that's another one of the adaptations that makes owls special. He can sit in one place and swing his head to pick up sounds of prey and other animals in the area.
Because the owl's eyes are fixed in their sockets, they have to be able to swivel their heads in order to see what's around them. The larger its eye, the better an animal's night vision. Owls, as you can see, have very large eyes. In the eyes of most animals, there are two kinds of cells, called rods and cones. Rods are cells sensitive to light. Cones are sensitive to color. Owls' eyes have many rod cells and no cones at all. This means that although owls are colorblind, they have extremely good night vision.
If we have a look at his wing feathers are specially constructed so that he has almost soundless flight, so that he can fly at night and hunt without scaring the prey. On the tips of the wings, he's got a little fringe on the edge of each feather that allows the air to go through and that he doesn't make a noise. If you pull his wing out, you can see he's got beautifully constructed wings that are very broad that allow him to swoop down onto the prey.
Karen, what is that funny clapping sound he makes?
It's a form of communication. It's basically an alarm signal, and it's believed that it's the palate and the bottom beak that click together, but nobody knows completely yet how he makes that noise. But it's definitely a way of communicating, and often if he's scared, he'll make that noise.
Owls may make a noise when they're alarmed, but when they're flying, they're absolutely silent. The fringe on its feathers helps reduce the noise of the air flowing over the owl's wing. Like other birds of prey, owls have powerful talons that they use to capture their prey, and strong, sharp, hooked beaks for tearing at the meat. Owls are great rat and mouse hunters, and so help control their numbers. One barn owl, for instance, needs to eat 3 rats a night in order to survive. And if he has a mate and 5 chicks to feed, They would catch 20 and more rats a night. If the prey is small enough, the owl will swallow it whole with the help of its small tongue.
Karen, why does an owl have a small tongue?
His tongue is specially constructed. It's a triangular, thin tongue that he uses to pull the food back into his throat. They swallow their prey whole in one big piece. And also he doesn't need his tongue to talk the same way that we talk. So he has this very little tongue, and when he does make noises, it's mostly with the palate of his beak.
Owls don't build nests at all. They simply find a safe place in the roof of a house or a hollow tree or an old hawk's nest in which to lay their eggs. They're laid over a period of a few days and are incubated as soon as they're laid. This explains why you'll often see chicks of different sizes in the same nest. During the day, owls sleep in safe places, usually in trees where their coloring blends with the branches. They raise their ears to break up their outlines, and this keeps them well hidden while they sleep.
At Ark, we get lots of birds and animals that have been injured. And the sad thing is that 90% of the birds and animals that we get in have been injured as a direct result of man's activities and man-made hazards. Poisoning, power lines, flying into fences, road accidents, those big smokestacks. All of the birds and animals have in some way been affected by what man is doing to our environment. And as he starts to extend, as he spreads his suburbs and as he builds more highways and more roads, then the wildlife more and more is being affected. There's also a problem, and that is that many people like to have wildlife as pets. They're very sweet and they think they make ideal pets, but they don't. And if you have a wild pet, you have a tremendous responsibility in that you have to know exactly what to feed him and how to look after him properly. This little owl is a very sad case. The little boy probably pinched him out of a nest to keep him as a pet and didn't know what to feed him. So they gave him just steak, which means that he didn't get enough calcium and he didn't get the right type of food. So you can see that his wings have actually bent from lack of calcium, and his legs as well aren't properly formed. Wildlife especially adapted to the food that they eat in the wild and in their environment. So if he was in the wild and his mom was bringing him little rats and mice to eat, he'd get a completely balanced diet and his wings would have been normal and he'd be able to fly.
It's difficult to remember, as the children show Karen's tame owl, what wild, fierce hunters they really are.
We have seen how perfectly adapted the owl is for night hunting, and as well as that, the important role that they play in controlling rodent populations.
Will you leave us a world where no rhinos run? Will you leave us a world where no whales swim? Will you leave us a world that is scorched by the sun? Will you leave us a world? What kind of world? Will you leave us a world where the forests are gone? Will you leave us a world where no rivers run? Will you leave us a world with 10 billion strong? Will you leave us a world? What kind of world? You can make it a world where the rivers flow clean and wildlife runs free on an earth that is green. Let them know that you care. Be alive, be aware, in a world that together we share. This kind of world, what kind of world? Your kind of world, our kind of world. Bush School, Mother Nature welcomes you. Join us in a world that's new. Open up your eyes. Bush School, animals in camouflage, how they breed and feed and thrive. learn how they survive. Discover the secrets of wildlife. Discover the way to be bush-wise. Bush School.
Today, children, we're going to take a look at the fascinating world of the termite. And Lex is here to show us exactly how the inside of a termite mound works.
Okay, children, we discovered a termite mound that an ant bear dug into and caused a lot of damage. So we decided to dig further into the mound to investigate the life of the termite. And what happened when we first started digging is the first thing we saw were the soldier termites, which are the termites that have large pinchers, and they use these pinchers to defend themselves. And after a while, the workers started coming out, and the workers are different termites that do all the work in the mound. They are responsible for building the termite mound and for looking after the eggs that the queen termite lays and for looking after the baby termites. And they all came out and started trying to close up all these holes. And if you look closely here, you'll be able to see where each termite is busy working, cementing everything closed. You can see they're working over there.
There's one too.
This cross-section of a termite mound clearly shows its structure. It's made mostly of soil, although towards the center, a whitish substance surrounds a central chamber. It's in this chamber that the queen termite lives. She's a strange-looking creature, swollen with eggs. Her sole purpose is to lay thousands of eggs, which she does when conditions are right. The workers then carry the eggs into nurseries where they care for them. The workers also look after the queen herself. The whitish substance we noticed is the termite's fungus garden. It is made up of termite dung the termites mold into shape. When the fungus flowers, the workers harvest it and feed it to the baby termites and to the king and the queen of the colony.
Lex, can you tell me how this whole mound starts up?
Right in the beginning, the king and the queen pair up. Two termites pair up, and one of them becomes a king and the other becomes a queen. And they mate. They first dig a little hole, go under the ground, and they just have a small hole under the ground, and they mate, and the queen lays eggs, and those eggs hatch out into little workers. And those first workers start digging tunnels and start building a tiny little mound, and that's how it starts.
Lexi,
Yes,
how do they build the mound?
Each worker goes under the ground and collects a little grain of sand, and he carries the grain of sand up to the top, and he puts it across the hole that they've made, and then he goes down and fetches another grain of sand, and he mixes the grain of sand with his saliva so that it gets sticky, and so they stick one grain of sand on top of another until eventually there's a big mound like this.
Termites are the architects of the insect world. Their mounds come in every possible size and shape.
Termite mounds are really interesting insofar as they tell us what soil base they are built on. See, by the different colors of the termite mounds, you can tell the sort of soil it is built on. Another interesting thing is if you look here, you see the bird dropping?
Yes.
The soil that the termite mound is made out of is very, very fertile. The bird will defecate on the mound, and often a tree will germinate because of the seeds and pips in the bird's feces.
The mound that the children are standing on is covered in vegetation. Because the soil the termites bring to the surface is so rich, many edible plants grow on their mounds, and this attracts the attention of grazing animals like buffalo and zebra. In places where the ground is very flat, termite mounds provide animals with vantage points from which to spy out the land for danger. Look how short the grass on this mound has been grazed in comparison with the grass in the surrounding area. Predators also use the mounds as vantage points. Leopards and cheetahs rest comfortably on them while they're keeping their eyes open for prey. But other animals use termite mounds for different purposes.
Now, the holes we see made in the termite mounds are made by the ant bear. He comes burrowing in to find the termites because that's what he eats. Now, numerous other animals use the already made hole.
Warthogs sleep in the holes at night, safe from predators. Mongoose use termite mounds to retreat into if danger, in the form of an eagle or a leopard, threatens. So do meerkats. And the spotted hyena gives birth to its cubs in the holes made by the ant bear. During the day, when the hyena are inactive, the cubs stay hidden inside the mound. Sometimes one animal, like the warthog, will use a hole at night that another animal, like a porcupine, will make use of during the day.
Well, here we are back at the termite mound. Lex, can you tell us what reconstruction the termites have done since we were last here?
Yes, Chani. Yesterday when we left the mound, there was a huge opening here and the termites were completely exposed. And the workers have been at work all night long and have completely covered up a large opening over here. And all these little tunnels that go down into the mound, they also have been sealed up.
Now, if we wanted to walk up to animals, we would often scare them off, right? Because the human body represents danger to them. Now, what do you think our chances are of getting a little closer if we use the termite mound as a hide?
Yes, let's give it a try.
Come on then, in you get, come. Let's give it a try.
Let's all give it a try. Everybody's going first.
Okay, hold on, guys.
Uh-oh. Hey, we all first.
Okay, let's close it over. All right, now gently, now quietly and gently. Up we go, to the left.
The easier part.
So we have seen how animals use these termite mounds in numerous different ways. Now, if we look up at the trees, by their sheer size, we can tell that they are really old. And in this episode, we learnt that the mound often comes before the tree, which tells us then that these termite mounds are often hundreds of years old.
Will you leave us a world where no rhinos run? Will you leave us a world where no whales swim? Will you leave us a world that is scorched by the sun? Will you leave us a world? What kind of world? Will you leave us a world where the forests are gone? Will you leave us a world where no rivers run? Will you leave us a world with 10 billion strong? Will you leave us a world? What kind of world? You can make it a world where the rivers flow clean and wildlife runs free on an earth that is green. Let them know that you care. Be alive, be aware, in a world that together we share. This kind of world, what kind of world? Your kind of world, our kind of world. Bush School, Mother Nature welcomes you. Join us in a world that's new. Open up your eyes. Bush School. Animals in camouflage. How they breed and feed and thrive. Learn how they survive. Discover the secrets of wildlife. Discover the way to be bush-wise. Bush School.
Today, children, we're going to talk about those small, creepy crawlies that I'm sure none of you like. Scorpions and spiders. Now, this is Lorenzo, and he is an expert on scorpions and spiders, and he is going to tell us some interesting things about these creatures.
Yes, the majority of spiders and scorpions are much maligned. Most people think that they are dangerous and deadly and they must be killed and destroyed wherever possible. But actually, practically 90% of them are actually not dangerous. Will you just hold this for me a second while I just
Is it going
tell you a little bit more? Notice a typical reaction of someone terrified of spiders and scorpions. But you can see that I'm holding this with no difficulty whatsoever. Right, I'm going to introduce you to a term that you don't know. It's a word, quite a long word, arachnids. All creatures that have got 8 legs and 8 eyes are arachnids. So it means 8-legged animals, in other words. Insects have got 6 legs, so that's how you can tell an arachnid. It's got 8 legs, whereas insects got 6. Right, and arachnids consist of several different types of creatures. You've got spiders and scorpions, other things like ticks, and then a whole lot of other sort of funny creatures like whip scorpions and solifugids and what have you, but we won't go into those in much detail. I'm going to start off with spiders because that's what you probably all know best. And I think the easiest one to start off with is the hunting spider. That's quite a well-known spider. There are lots of different types. They run very fast and they've got long legs. They're just free-ranging. They don't use webs to catch their prey. They just run it down. They live mainly in trees and on the ground and under rocks, etc. Okay, you can just have a look at that. He's moving quite fast. Moving around there. You can see the long legs used for running and quite big jaws for hunting. Okay, that's the hunting spider.
And what does a spider eat?
Depends on the species, but hunting spiders will normally eat crickets and beetles and things that live on the ground or in trees, whereas web-building spiders will eat flying things like flies and mosquitoes and flying beetles and grasshoppers and things that can jump into the web, basically, or fly into the web. So it depends on the species. Different type of hunting spider is something like the baboon spider. This is quite a big one. That's a typical baboon spider. You can see she's made a tremendous amount of web there. Okay, there's the spider. Very hairy. Okay, that's the baboon spider. You can see the 8 eyes on the top, and the spider's got 8 legs as well, and 2 body parts. Okay, that's another difference with arachnids. Instead of having 3 like an insect, they have 2.
And why is a baboon spider called a baboon spider?
It's because of the legs, as far as I know. If we can just get the spider to rear up again. Yes, there you go. And you see there's padding under the legs there, sort of soft pads. Apparently, that's very similar to the padding on a baboon's hand. I don't know how true that is, but that's apparently the story. And also the hairiness. Okay, I'm going to show you a poisonous spider now. All the ones you've seen before are not poisonous.
The black button spider is one of the best known and most feared spiders of them all. In fact, it is very poisonous, but it's so timid that it is far less dangerous than we think. It won't bite unless you tease it. The button spider's egg sacs are round and creamy. She'll lay up to 12 sacs in her lifetime. Each contains about 50 individual eggs. Few of the spiders that hatch from these eggs survive to adulthood. Most are eaten by predators.
This is a communal spider nest. This is one of the few spiders that lives together. Okay, the reason they can do that is because they're not cannibalistic. Now, cannibalistic means when somebody eats, well, a relative, it's eating one another. Most spiders can actually eat other spiders because it's just like another insect or anything else that they normally eat. But these particular spiders all live in harmony and they don't eat each other. And when an insect flies into the web, they all hunt it down together and they act as a pack, okay? And so these nests can get huge, sometimes even as big as this. Thousands and thousands of individual spiders live in a nest with males and females and the egg sacs, etc., all in the single nest. So it's like a block of flats almost. Okay, I'm going to introduce you now to another type of arachnid. Remember that word, all 8-legged animals are arachnids. This is a scorpion. I'm going to emphasize here that scorpions are not to be handled normally, but because this is a very docile scorpion, I'll handle it. And it's nice to show you this particular scorpion if it's being handled, because it just shows you that not all scorpions are as dangerous as everybody thinks they are. Okay, you can see it's got strong pincers at the front for catching its prey and a thin tail. That's how I know it's not a dangerous scorpion, because it uses the pincers primarily to catch the prey and not the tail. Okay, you can see it's not stinging me. It's a very docile scorpion. It generally lives in cracks, this particular one, and crevices in rocks. That's why it's so flat. Okay, I'll pass it over here. Maybe one of you would like to hold it. Okay.
Stand up so John can see.
You can see it's not stinging you. It's not attacking you, doing anything nasty to you.
Pass it to CZ.
Okay, just get him to move over slowly. Right, that's a typical rock scorpion, we call it.
Is that the real rock scorpion?
That's the real rock scorpion. Okay, so that's a very docile scorpion, but generally speaking, I wouldn't say you should handle scorpions. Only this particular one maybe you could handle. It's not because it's not so dangerous.
Lorenzo's had a lot of experience digging up scorpions, and he shows the children how he does it. First, he digs a trench alongside the scorpion's burrow. Then he collapses the burrow into the trench and so exposes the scorpion.
But the scientific name is Opistothalmus glabrifrons. Glabrifrons actually means sort of shiny. The frons is part of the front.
Scorpions live about 30 centimeters below the surface, well out of the way of predators. The black, thick-tailed scorpion is a vicious-looking arachnid, and it is in fact very venomous. You can identify it by its slender pincers and thick tail. It uses these pincers to catch and grasp its dinner, before bringing its tail up to inject its prey with venom, which first stuns and then kills it. The scorpion can spray its venom up to 1 meter when danger threatens. A close relative is the yellow thick-tailed scorpion, which, when it's angry, runs its sting along the ridge of its tail to produce a distinctive sound.
Okay, I'm going to show you now another arachnid. This is another type of 8-legged animal. It looks as though it's only got 6 legs, but in reality it's got 8. 2 of the front legs look like feelers. They look like the antenna of an insect. This is called the whip scorpion. It's not poisonous. It's got no venom at all, so it can't sting. It's got no tail either, so it can't sting you or bite. Well, it can bite you, but it's not dangerous at all to you. Okay, can you see it's got these whip-like legs at the front and a very flattened body. It lives under bark or in crevices of rocks, and again it eats, well, any kind of insect that comes into contact with it, even sometimes small lizards and that sort of thing.
So children, did you learn something about the scorpions and spiders?
Yes.
Now the next time a spider comes to visit in your home, think twice about killing it.
Will you leave us a world where no rhinos run? Will you leave us a world where no whales swim? Will you leave us a world that is scorched by the sun? Will you leave us a world? What kind of world? Will you leave us a world where the forests are gone? Will you leave us a world where no rivers run? Will you leave us a world with 10 billion strong? Will you leave us a world? What kind of world? You can make it a world where the rivers flow clean and wildlife runs free on an earth that is green. Let them know that you care. Be alive, be aware, in a world that together we share. This kind of world, what kind of world? Your kind of world, our kind of world.
For your litter, please use the dustbin and not our river. There's a solution to pollution. Be responsible for your own litter. Our future is tomorrow's world. Nampak asks you, please, do not litter.